So, a lot has happened since the red bench, but let's start from the beginning. My name is still not important. I still wear red shoes. And I still live in the same small town, the kind where the mayor, the baker, and the vet are probably the same person. Life was quiet again. Too quiet, until the rent went up, and my plants started dying. Again. So I did something unexpected. I got a job at a cafe. Yes, me, working, with people, and coffee. Mostly coffee. The cafe is small, cute, smells like cinnamon and regret. But I like it. My job? Smiling, pouring coffee, pretending I know how the espresso machine works. Sometimes I do. Sometimes the machine screams. We're learning to coexist. And of course, there's the cat. No, not mine. She's still at home, judging me from the windowsill. I mean the bakery cat. He now visits the cafe every morning. Like a customer. He sits at the door, stares at the menu, and waits. I usually give him a small piece of croissant. He usually gives me a look that seems to say, "Is this gluten-free?" Anyway, last Thursday, something odd happened. A man came in, not from around here. We all knew that instantly. He didn't start with, "Isn't it windy today?" He sat in the corner, ordered tea, no sugar. Strange. Then he opened a small notebook and just sat there, writing. No phone, no laptop, no loud chewing. Suspicious. I tried not to stare. But of course, I stared. My boss said, "Go check if he needs anything." So I walked over. "Everything okay?" I asked. He looked up, smiled, and said, "Do you believe in second chances?" What? That's not how people order tea. That's how people start novels. Or cults. I blinked. I mean, yes? He nodded, wrote something down, and kept sipping tea. I walked back to the counter, thinking, well, that was strange, even for here. And that was only the beginning. The next morning, he came back. Same seat, same tea, same serious face. This time, he wore a dark blue scarf. It was sunny, very sunny. No one else wore scarves. He opened his notebook again, and again started writing. I gave the bakery cat his usual piece of croissant. He sniffed it and walked away. Clearly offended, probably because it wasn't warm enough. Then something strange happened. A letter arrived. Yes, a real paper envelope, addressed to the cafe. No stamp, no name, only one word on the front. For her. I held it, looked around. No one saw who delivered it. Was it for me? I opened it carefully. Inside was a piece of paper, 2 short sentences. The number is missing. The clock is not broken. What? What number? What clock? I looked up. The man in the corner was still writing. He didn't look at me, not even once. Was it from him? Then, 5 minutes later, I noticed something else. On table 5, someone had scratched a word into the wood. Very small, hard to see. It said, "Waitress." That's me. Okay. Deep breath. Let's count the mysteries. A man asks me about second chances and drinks sad tea. A letter arrives with a strange message. My name is carved into a table. At this point, even the bakery cat looked concerned. I showed the letter to my coworker. She just said, "Romantic." Number not romantic. Weird. I checked all the clocks in the cafe. Only one was different. The old clock on the back wall. It still worked. But the number 6 was missing. Just an empty spot where it should be. Now the letter made sense. The number is missing. The clock is not broken. But why? And who knew I would notice? That evening, the man stood up to leave. He looked at me again. Same soft smile, same calm voice. "You saw it, didn't you?" I wanted to ask 100 questions, but all I said was, "Yes." He nodded and left. No name, No goodbye, just that scarf, blowing behind him like he was in a movie. And I knew this story wasn't over. After he left, I stared at the clock on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. It was working. The hands moved, the sound was normal, but number 6 was missing, just a little gap between 5 and 7. I stood on a chair to look closer. And guess what? Inside the gap was something, not a number, a paper, very small, very old. I pulled it out. Carefully, it was a ticket, a train ticket, from 1997. The date, June 6th. The time, 6 p.m. The seat, 6C. All the sixes. Weird, right? And on the back, a name. Not mine, not his. Just a name I didn't know. I showed it to the bakery cat. He blinked slowly, as if to say, "Told you so." Then he walked away like a detective who solved the case. But I hadn't solved anything. Why was the ticket there? And who put it inside the clock? That night, I couldn't sleep. My cat sat on my chest like a furry security guard. She probably thought I was overthinking again. She was right. The next morning, I brought the ticket to the café. The man didn't come in, but someone else did. A woman, middle-aged, gray coat, very quiet. She sat at table 5, the same table with the carved word, Waitress. I served her tea. She looked at me, smiled softly, and asked, "Does the old clock still work?" I froze. "Yes," I said, "but the number 6 is missing." She nodded. "It should be." "What?" Before I could ask anything, she stood up and left a tip. Exactly 6 coins. No more, no less. Another clue? Or just a joke? Later that day, I checked the train ticket again. On the back, under the name, I saw very small letters. It said, "Look behind the frame." I looked around. Only one frame in the cafe had a loose corner, an old photo of the cafe from 30 years ago. I pulled it away from the wall. Behind it, taped to the back, was another note. This one said, "She chose to wait. That's where the story begins." And that's when I realized this wasn't about tea, or clocks, or even me. This was a story already written. I had just stepped into it. And someone, maybe him, wanted me to finish it. The next morning, I went to the cafe early. Very early. Even the coffee machine was still asleep. I stood in front of the old photo frame, the one with the note taped behind it. She chose to wait. That's where the story begins. Who is she? Waited where? Waited for what? I turned the frame over again. Nothing more there. Then, I saw it. A small scratch on the photo itself, right under the bench in the picture. A bench behind the cafe. Long gone now. Just grass there today. But back then, there was a bench. I ran outside, walked to the back. No bench, no clue. Just the wind, a plastic cup, and a very round cat sleeping in the sun. Wait, not just a cat, my cat. She followed me. I said, "This is no time for naps, we're investigating." She yawned, then casually walked over to a patch of dirt and started digging. Seriously? Then, something small popped up, a box. No way. I pulled it out. It was metal, rusted, and locked. No key. I looked at my cat. She stared at me like, "You're welcome." Back inside, I searched the cafe. Everywhere. Behind the sugar bags, under the tea tins, even inside the freezer. Brrr. Nothing. Then the bakery cat showed up, jumped onto the counter, meowed loudly, and knocked over a tiny plant pot. Great. Soil everywhere. But under the pot, yes, of course, a tiny key. Are they working together? Cats and secrets? I took the key. It fit. Click. Inside the box, old letters, handwritten, yellow paper, tied with a red ribbon. The first one started with, "Dear L." The name was smudged. It continued, I waited every Tuesday. You never came, but I left something for you each time. Maybe someday you'll find it all. Every Tuesday, the man with the tea came on a Thursday. But maybe he started late. And maybe he wasn't writing in that notebook for fun. Maybe he was reading those letters or writing back. I looked outside. The sky was pink. The town was quiet. Small towns look simple, but sometimes they hide stories under the soil, behind frames, and inside sleepy cats. That evening, I stayed late at the café. The lights were low. The street outside was quiet. Only the bakery sign buzzed softly. I read every letter in the box. Some were long, some were short. All were full of hope. They talked about waiting, memories, coffee, and love that maybe never arrived. Or maybe arrived too late. The writer signed each one with just an L. I felt like I was reading someone's soul. Like opening a diary that was never meant to be found, but somehow wanted to be. Then, just before closing, he came in. The man with the scarf. He sat in his usual spot. But this time, he didn't open his notebook. He just sat there, watching me, waiting. I made tea. No sugar. Just like always. Then I walked over and placed the cup in front of him. I looked at him and said, She waited every Tuesday. He looked surprised, then smiled. A slow, quiet smile. I know, he said. I was too late. I nodded. You found the letters? Yes. And the photo? Yes. He paused, then said, Do you think some stories can be finished by someone else? I thought for a second. I think some stories are waiting to be shared. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small notebook, the same one I'd seen before. He opened it to the last page and handed it to me. It said, She never stopped believing. Even when I forgot how. Thank you for reminding me. We sat in silence for a while. 2 cups of tea, 2 cats outside the window, 2 people, 1 memory. Before he left, he turned and said, You were never just the waitress. Then he was gone. Again. But this time, it felt like something had finally closed. Or opened. I walked back to the clock. It still ticked. The number 6 still missing. And that was okay. I turned off the lights, locked the door, and whispered, L stands for Lily. She was my grandmother.